Hello, my camper friends. It is Block Wednesday. We are at summer camp again, and we are block number 5. And so what is block number 5? It is all about crafts. I think that is the arts and crafts at the summer camp was the best part. I can't even remember all the things that we did, but I know that they were my favorite part. As many of you have said so far during this so long, those were your favorite parts too. When you make your block, you might want to see the block, right? Here it is in my fabric. Ta-da! I'm so excited about this one. It has just got my brain clicking on ways to use your 2.5-inch strips. Yeah. Cool, right? So when you make the block, I want you to share your arts and crafts type of, things that you loved, what you did, maybe one of your favorites. If you still have one from camp, show it. When I had my cast put on, when I broke both my wrists, and I went to have the cast put on, the man who was doing that, he called it Arts and Crafts Day. That always just cracked me up. You need to have something to laugh at when you have 2 broken wrists, believe me. Okay, so also I have got sashing started, and this is the plan that I had. I'm really liking that, and I just want to talk about one thing when we come back to do the wrap up. So now let's look at how I went about figuring out the fabrics for our crafty block. With the sashing fabrics there and what the cornerstone will be, I can really see the color now and how I'm going to go forward. And so I got the other camera and just straight on and looked at the colors that are there. So let's take a look at that first. So with looking at these colors, I've got black and blue here, blue there with the red. This is kind of the green yellow. This has yellow with that mix that's got a lot of things. So what I'm thinking is to pull the blue black again here and see how that works. Then I'm thinking next time I will do the green, more green here, and then this one will be red. So sort of taking the fabrics but taking different combinations of them. So let's take a look at the stack of fabric. Okay, here's the stacks. I am going to play around, see what kind of colors we can get. What do we have? What do we have? So for our arts and crafts, our crafts block, it is sort of color blocked, and I'm thinking maybe I can either do the black on the, let's get the bigger image. Here we go. So I could do the black out here, blue, and then black like that, or blue, black, blue, and then use lights, probably 2 lights. Maybe the one that I have for the background is out here on this side. Then maybe alternate a different maybe light here, and then maybe go with the white again in the middle. So if I'm going to do black on the outside, I'm loving this print. So I think I will use that print, which I'm using now. This will be like the 3rd time, so that's good. Like 5 of the blocks maybe using this big print. So I will do the strips on the outside with that, and then coming in towards the middle, if I want to do the blue, like maybe I'll do the word print here for the against the black, do the blue word print. See, I think that's kind of neat. I like that. Of course, they're all they're skinnier, they're logs. So if this would be then a blueprint. Blueprints. What do I use? I could go to this one, that sort of wave stitch there. And then in the center would be the white. And then on this outside would be the white. Okay, then I would just have these 2, which would be another black print. And this is such a cool print here. But I'm not sure about having it just as a 2.5-inch square. Plus I repeated it be repeated there. So let's say we're doing that one instead for the squares, and let's switch this out to be something else. It could be blue. Does that have enough punch to it? It could be this blue. There, that reads a little bit more. What about that one? I think what I need to do is cut the parts that I like. This is the one I don't know. So right now, and I'm willing to sacrifice two squares of this to audition them here, but I know I want the larger floral out here, then and the white here, and this guy here. So let's just see what that looks like. Here's the mock-up with the little dot and the text print. Yeah, I'm loving the text print. That's going to stay. So let's see. All I did was take the square and just sort of fold it under to tuck it there. Let's see what it looks like with this floral. Look, let me just try to fill in the space there. Okay, so we have that overlapping. The floor, oh, I like that too. I like that better. Yeah, okay, this is it. These two. Going to cut these up for the other spaces, and then I'll sew it. Here is our crafty block, our summer camp crafty block. I love it. This turned out so good. Do you see how that makes like a center square? Like it really pops that center square. That is really a neat effect. I can just see making this block and like twisting and turning just side by side layouts. That would be very cool because you could get like extra. Oh, it'd be really cool. Good strip one for extra, scrappy blocks, scrappy strips, because these could be like all one color and they wouldn't have to be the same fabric. Just an idea. So also this is directional fabric, and I did put them in the same direction, but at first I cut them just not thinking, and there they are the other direction, which I don't like as much. I want them all to go the same way. Let's talk now about the nature walk prep, just if you want to get ready for next week. For those of you who are going to do nature walk with me, the sew along that starts on Monday, I just thought I'd do a little prep video and tell you a few things, because you might want to experiment if you don't normally do this. Maybe you want to do some cutting ahead, and that way you could just sew for the week. I don't know, it's sort of a thing that I've been doing lately, like doing it with the Midnight Moon blocks where I'm cutting them and then I can just sew them later in the evening when I don't have to think so much about cutting. Sometimes you have to, particularly if it's a pattern that you're not used to reading, that designer's, cadence of how they write, you want to do that when you're fresh and maybe not at 10 o'clock at night unless you're a night owl and that's your good time. So for Nature Walk, it's a big center star, and then using the fabrics, we're doing little frames around each one and creating some blocks, just squares with strips around them. So for the outside, this is designed by Wendy Shepard to showcase my panel fabric from Birdsong. So let's take a look at the panel for a minute. Okay, so when we're working on this, we will have this big center as the in the middle of the star, for the middle of the star, and then you have 6 blocks. These 3 across the bottom, and then the 3 across the top. All of these will be in the middle of one of these squares, plus other fabrics from the fabric line. So when you go to the supply list, you'll see all of that. Now the pattern itself, let's take a look. We'll just scroll in here. And I'll tell you how Wendy set this up, because there's 2 colorways, and I know this is not printed in color, but it is a pink colorway, which is what I'm going to do with the pink and green, and then there's the blue colorway. So she wrote the directions for the rose colorway and the blue colorway so that you see each of the fabrics when you're on your screen. If you don't have a color printer, you can just look on it on your online, or just call up the PDF and it'll be in color. And I do have to tell you, there is some exercise during this because we're going to do some squats. Oh, I left a typo in there. It says squats instead of squares. So I am going to call those the squats whenever we're referencing it, just because that's the small blocks. Just because it's funny. That's okay, so here is all the cutting directions. So if you decide to sort of cut in advance and have everything set for sewing, this is the pages that you would concentrate on. So that just gives you an opportunity to work through that. This is an easy one to experiment with that with, because for the most part we're doing a lot of, the first blocks here. So they're all laid out and you'll see them in color when you call it up on your online. So we have the squat blocks and then the center star, which is there's the square, the half square triangles you need for that, and it's big. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to actually flip this around. We're going to do the half square triangles and the big star first, because I think that that's really awesome to do that one and have it done. So we'll be doing that on the 11th. the star part. So if you only have time to get something prepped, then go ahead and look at prepping the star. That would be super fun. On the 11th, I will go through trimming this center block and show you how I do that. So there's a little prep for Nature Walk. It is going to be awesome to see all of your projects. You can still get the panel. There's still time. If you just want to buy the panel and use your own fabrics you already own and just mix them in, you can do that. Remember, those outer blocks have some of my fabric in the middle and some of those squares, because you only have 6 squares. So the rest of those are down with other pieces of fabric from the fabric line. All right, so now I have a Q&A that quite a few people asked about, so let's go to that. I've had this Q&A quite a few times recently because I've been sharing my cross stitch, and you've noticed that I don't have it in a hoop, and you don't see any hoop marks because I'm showing it outside of a hoop, and you can't see any marks where it was in the hoop. That's because I don't use a hoop. And when you've asked me that, I've told you, well, I just don't care for it. And somebody's like, well, why don't you care for it? So let me see if I can try to explain that, because I don't think I'm the only one. I know I'm not the only one that does cross stitch without a hoop, because I also don't do a lot of other things without a hoop. I don't like how a hoop restricts what I do. When I hand embroidered a lot way back when I was learning, before I quilted, I did all hand embroidery without a hoop, and I know that a lot of people like it. They like the firmness of it. To me, it just totally gets in the way, and I'm going to explain that a little bit more. When I started doing hand quilting, you know, like my first class, we had a hoop, and you know, that was great, and I did it, but I didn't enjoy it at all. I don't like that firmness about how everything is together. So what I decided to do was just try it without the hoop. And I did hand quilting, more big stitch, because I'm not into little tiny fine hand quilting. And so big stitch without a hoop, and it works totally fine. Lots of people do that. When I started doing hand applique, now applique isn't necessarily done in a hoop, but there might be people who do it. Usually it's done by holding it in your hand, and that's why I like doing cross stitch without a hoop and embroidery without a hoop and the hand quilting without a hoop, no hoops, because I like being able to hold the fabric. I like being able to rock the needle. I want to put it in, bring it back out. I don't want to stab stitch, do this kind of a thing. I want to rock, rock, rock. And when I'm doing that, that is what's relaxing. That is what I enjoy. And if I have to stab stitch things, I only want to do it a couple places, but mostly I want to rock that needle. And that's why I like doing things without a hoop, because I can rock the needle. So let me just show you what that means on a cross stitch. So here is the the flea market flowers, right? This one. And I'm right now racing. Yes, I'm racing to try to get this flower done, because I want to do the other July projects that I have for cross stitch. So when I'm doing this without a hoop, what that allows me to do is put the needle in here and then rock it up right back out again. So I am doing one stitch at a time. Unlike if I was hand quilting, I might do a couple stitches at a time. So there's, I'm just, you know, holding everything in my left hand. I'm right-handed, so with the needle, I'm just going down in one hole and up. And that whole process to me is super relaxing and enjoyable. And I find that if I put something like this in a hoop, like I told somebody, I will 100% not work on it. I just won't work on it. It's not enjoyable. So there, that might make a little sense for those of you who have been having a hoop and it is not enjoyable. Get rid of the hoop. See what you think. See if you enjoy the whole motion. I know that it doesn't keep it as firm. Does that make it less wonderful in the end? I don't know. And hand applique, definitely, there's no difference. You don't use a hoop at all there. So I just encourage you, if it's not working for you, try it without. So, you know, that would be the thing to do if it were me. Now, the other one that I'm working on is, ta-da, look at this. This is the Letters to Santa. It is a paid mystery from the Fat Quarter Shop for cross stitch. and it's this is the border. So there'll be like a rectangle, and this will be the border. Now, one thing I'm discovering is that I need some more needles threaded up, because this design is repeating like this. So I need to have a couple more needles. So I've got this what do they call it, like a Stitch Buddy, this thing here, which is designed by Lori Holt. I know that this one is her one that she sells. I put a needle minder here, so I've got another thread, the aqua stitched up. I need to have some more stitched, so I've got some more needles in here, because every so often I don't want to run a thread behind that far, so I've got to stop and change. So I'm like, this is crazy. I just need one thread per needle and have all 4 of the colors ready to go. So it's white, aqua, green, and red. That way I can just easily keep changing them out. So that's something I had to come to terms with today. I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to be doing. Just switch it up and it'll work fine. So those are just a few things that I do for cross stitch that people have asked me about. I hope that was helpful. I tell you, the summer camp is so much fun. I am loving this theme. I am loving all of the stories that you're telling, and they're not all, some of your camping stories are not from your childhood. They're from adult camping, which is totally fine. You can do any kind of camping story. Just participate. That's what makes it fun. So let me put the crafty block up in its spot. Okay, so like I told you in that little mini clip about the blue, coming all around, I decided that I think I want blue in the center. And I'm trying to decide, this is a lighter blue, so like you're seeing it from a distance. I'll scroll you in a second. So there's the lighter blue, and then the other one is darker, plus it reads more solid. It really has very little texture on it. So I'm thinking I want to keep it lighter. But you can chime in with your view in the comments, because I will be working, I have all of these sashings done. So all of those are done, and I have everything cut except for those blue. What will I use? And then I can start sewing the corner squares as I'm doing other things, get that laid out, and I think it'll work out really well, so that probably by next Wednesday I will have all of that done and I can actually sew the top across. Okay, my friend, you are going to have craft day at summer camp. Ta-da! I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.